Ed Subitzky did a lot of cartooning for National Lampoon back in the 70s and 80s. Much of his work revolves around comics done under certain conditions or showing a certain situation, like fortune-telling comics, dull comics, or poor reception comics. Neither Kumar nor I were familiar with his work until we picked up the collection Poor Helpless Comics, the cartoons, and more of Ed Subitzky. But now we've read it, and this week we'll discuss the book. First, as always, I'd like to thank our patrons for helping to keep the show going. You can pitch in by pledging at least $2 a month at patreon.com/deconcomics. This is Tim.
This is Kumar.
And this is Deconstructing Comics. Welcome to Deconstructing Comics. This is Tim in Tokyo with Kumar in Melbourne. I think the last time you were on was the 20th anniversary show.
Yeah.
And I've been reading my diary from that time and picking up a few little things like...
You mean from 2005?
From 2005. So I mentioned, that first episode was called GCN Podcast, standing for Global Comics Network.
Ah, okay.
And Mulele and Brandon didn't like the name very much because it wasn't clear what the letters stood for.
Mm-hmm.
And I found something online, a different GCN that was Gay Christian Network. Okay. I wrote down like several possible names, and one of them was Deconstructing Comics, and I guess that I presented them to the other two, and that was the one that was the best of the group. Mm-hmm. Also, I'd forgotten. So it was hard for me to find like instructions of how to like publish the podcast,
mm-hmm.
How to get an RSS feed going, and you have to put your feed link in the Apple, whatever you call it, that page, that feed, not verifier, something like that. It's been a long time since I've had to do it now, but I didn't know what to do, and I was pasting in the URL of the MP3 file, and it wasn't publishing anywhere. Like, what's going on? Why isn't it working? But that was.
You mean you're putting in like the file name, like the
right? Yeah,
MP3 file name, right?
Yeah, .mp3. Like, nope, that's not working.
Yeah.
But yeah, the growing pains of getting a podcast started in 2005.
Yeah.
Because I felt like the instructions I was reading were all assuming that I knew things that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so today we've got a book called Poor Helpless Comics, which is the comics of a cartoonist I had not heard of before.
Me neither.
Ed Subitzky.
Yeah.
And you mentioned this to me, and it seemed like you said something like you were having trouble figuring out what to think of it.
Well, I had never heard of this before. I never heard of this cartoonist. Most of these cartoons appeared in the National Lampoon
in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, and I've read some at Lamp, but I don't remember. Just bits and pieces, not enough to recognize this guy or if he was even in those issues. But I saw a page from this comic somewhere. It was like in a podcast description or somewhere or somehow, or maybe somebody did a podcast on Ed Subitzky, and I didn't even listen to the podcast, but I was like, who's Ed Subitzky? And I Googled it, and I came across this image of this comic that was so weird. I was like, what is this? I have to track this down. It wasn't so much that I didn't know what to think, but then I bought the book, and then I started reading it, and I was like, this stuff is so interesting and strange and anonymous. Like, nobody is talking about this guy that was doing this really, in a sense, it's silly. In a sense, it's really aimed at National Lampoon readers, but there's some like really crazy formalist stuff going on that I'm surprised he's just like nobody's talking about it. And this came out from New York Review Comics, I think about 2 years ago, or 2 or 3, and I only landed on it like 6 months back or something like that.
Copyright 2023.
Yeah. So it wasn't so much that I didn't know what to say about it. Well, sort of I didn't know what to say about it, but I needed to unpack it with somebody. So I don't know anybody that has heard of this guy or is reading these comics or anything, or nobody's like, oh yeah, I know Ed Subitzky. And, I needed to talk to some human about.
Okay, I qualify.
About what the heck was going on in these strange comics. I mean, this is a huge book. It's like 200, almost 200 pages.
Yeah, and some of it is an interview with Subitzky by Mark Newgarden.
Yeah.
So, it's got some text in it, and some of it is stuff that he wrote, but mostly that text is the interview.
Yeah. Yeah, which is interspersed like strategic points or like edited in such a way that it's like they get onto a certain theme and then they'll put in all the comics that are related to the theme. It's like not 100% like that, but it's loosely organized that way. Like he says his favorite comic is the Saturday Night on Antarius, and then we get that comic. That's the next one we see. Like that.
Right, yeah. His favorite 2 were mentioned, and then we see them, and in my notes I wrote on page 42, he names two of his favorite comics, and then you see them, and I didn't think they were funny. I mean, there were some things in here that I really laughed at, but those were not 2 of them. I mean, some of them are just like, okay, we get it, and it's just kind of beating the same dead horse, sometimes for like multiple pages. But he got off some really funny lines in some places.
Yes, there's a part of it is that we're reading them all at once in one book. I think if you read these in National Lampoon once a month or every 3 months or however often he was in there, it would read a lot differently because there's a certain sense of dread with some of them. Like what I mean is, so every strip, they're never longer than 2 pages, really.
Yeah.
Has a title, like I can just choose a random one, usually has comics, like assembly line comics.
Yeah, comics done such and such way. Yeah.
Yes, or condensed movies comics, or torture the characters comics. These are I'm just randomly flipping through.
Come in the middle. Come in the middle comics, just like the movies.
Yes. So once you get used to his style, and I think we could probably categorize some of the boxes. Like we can put these into various boxes, and there's some overlap. But you get so used to them. But when you get to a strip that's called Dull Comics, you know exactly what it's going to be. It's like 30 panels, but you just know it's going to be a guy going to get his lunch, going home. He talks to his wife for a minute. He goes back out. He's a truck driver. He drives to some place. And then it's the end after 20 panels. You know exactly. And even Torture the Characters comics, which is a really funny formalist one where you've got word balloons in yellow or word balloons in blue. And if you want the characters' positive things, like a positive outlook, you read the yellow panel. And if you want to plunge the character into despair, you read the blue balloons. Of course, as you're reading, you read all of them. But this is also like 20 panels on this page, but you know exactly. Well, I guess it's kind of. I shouldn't say this one is quite like Dull Comics because there's some super clever stuff in this one. Like in the first panel, the yellow one is, boy, do I feel good. Nothing like a good night's sleep. This is a guy waking up in the morning. But the blue balloon says, I didn't sleep too well last night. I hope not. I'm not coming down with the flu. So every panel has these two opposite balloons, but then he goes out and he sees a girl like in a restaurant or something, and then the yellow one is he says, okay, the previous panel is the yellow one is, that girl over there is cute, and I'm positive she looked my way. But the blue one is, that girl over there is cute, but she refuses to even glance at me. But then the next panel, the yellow is, God, I could even fall in love with her, and the blue is, God, I could even fall in love with her. So there's a certain like predictability, especially if you read 200 of these in like a couple of sittings. Whereas definitely if you're reading it in the magazine, you might have forgotten about the trick that Subitzky is going to play on you month after month, which is to repeat the same things over and over again. Like he's obsessed with detective stories, like stupid detective stories with like arbitrary endings. He does these over and over again. He likes parodying movies and what it's like to be at the movies, like to be in a cinema. These things just come up over and over again. Again, if you hadn't read last month's issue or you're not going to read next month's, it might not matter. So maybe the best format for these is an all-in-one book. But I read this book twice because I was like, oh, we should do this. And then I read it, and you're like, I'm not sure if I'm so keen on this. And then somehow you changed your mind.
Well, I picked it up and I said, "Ooh, boy, text pages. I don't know. This is going to take me a long time to get through." But I mean, once I got into it, there weren't that many text pages, and the cartoon pages go by quickly. So sometimes you just got like a one-panel cartoon that takes up a whole page. So you get by those pretty quickly.
And some of them are deliberately unreadable. Like there's subtitle comics, which is conceptually the funniest thing in the world. Again, he kind of does parodies of movies sometimes. Like there's one that's like dissolve comics, just like in the movies he calls it, and it's like the panels are fading into each other, and you just can't read them because they're dissolves. They're cinema dissolves.
Yeah.
Or there's one where it's
page
3 comics.
Page 96. So you can read the title. Well, it says, "Warning, the following comic strip is for adults over 21 only. It contains the highest density pornography, perversions per square inch ever published. The axe murderer and the ladybug fetishist and the stripper and the male prostitute's mother." And then you got 4 panels where there's overlapping art and word balloons, and
they're all drawn on top of each other.
Hard to read any of them because you got text on top of text on top of text.
Yes,
Just
that's
4 panels
exactly
of
what
that.
I was about to mention. It's unreadable. You can read the description of it, but then you can't actually read the panels because he's drawn 3 panels over each other as if he hasn't erased them. So some of them you just absolutely, and there's one that's like bad reception comics, where it's like the TV it's like you're watching it on TV and it kind of goes out in different ways all the time. Like there's fuzz all over the screen or so. Oh, pubescent comics where the comic grows pubic hair over the course of 4 panels and until you can't read it anymore. And some of them are just like really text heavy because it's like assembly line comics or like there's like some of them agony comics, and it's funny, you're tempted to skip, but then sometimes there's like people say some random funny things in there. Amnesia comics is a good one where all these people who are amnesiacs go to their high school reunion.
Oh yeah.
And nobody remembers why they're there or what they're doing.
Yeah, all they're doing is asking each other questions.
And there's like, I don't know why, but I'm always so tired lately. Haven't I been? Like, he's not sure if he's been tired. Like, just making random statements and asking it. But like, you can like, there's so much text on these pages, but I'm just looking at it now. But there's one that was so hilarious where one woman accuses another woman. And she says, "So I probably didn't have your looks, and you may have had all the dates, but where are you now?" And the other woman says, "I don't know." But it's just like these tiny little bits that are like placed there in secret. So some of them are like heavy reading, and some of them are like almost no reading, as you said. And we haven't mentioned his art, which is like super rudimentary. It's just like,
I mean, it makes Spider-Hag look like a Sienkiewicz comic. You know?
yeah. It's but it's works in his favor. You're not supposed to focus on the characters. We're borderline stick figures here, just like like drawings that an 8-year-old would do or something.
I mean, a lot of times it's just like two heads talking, and the rest of the panel is word balloon.
Yeah, and they're barely heads. There's like 3 or 4 lines. But it's really crucial for some of the comics, especially like the really formalist ones. Like there's an amazing, which is the reason, this is the strip I saw that made me buy the book, called 8 Comics in One, I think, where it's a grid of 16 panels, and you can read it downwards, top to bottom, and you get 4 different stories, or you can read it side to side, left to right, and you get 4 different stories, but it uses the same panels. Now, in one of these stories, you get these kids, these teenagers who have a flat tire, and then in the next panel, the guy's holding up a tire, and he says, "It's okay, I've got a spare." So if you're reading it down, you get the flat tire story. But if you're reading sideways, you get the bowling story. And actually, the kid's holding a bowling ball. That only works because he can't draw a bowling ball or a tire, right? And the panel next to that...
what page is this?
This is page 13.
Oh, okay.
It's right at the beginning. When you're going down, there's a story about this murder mystery. And the cops are on the street looking down the street like, well, I guess they're, I wonder where the next strike will be, like where the next murder will be. But if you're reading it from the bowling alley story, that's not a street, that's the laneway. That's like the bowling lane. And the next strike they're talking about is the bowling strike. But it only works because he can't draw a street or a bowling lane. He's just drawn these 2 lines.
With a vanishing point.
And that's your street and your...
Yeah, no surroundings whatsoever.
No surroundings, that's right. So, like a lot of these ones like that, and there's also one that reads normally. If you read it normally, it's a brother and his sister trying to hang up a picture. But you can also read it like going down and then coming up again in a kind of zigzag. And that one is like, if you read it that way, it's like some kind of, like some sex romp, some bizarre sex in a motel story. But a lot of that is like based on how bad the art is. Like if the art had been clearer, he couldn't have pulled off those tricks.
Yeah. What did you think? So there's a text story that's like 6 pages, How I Spent My Summer, and I felt like it was all just one joke over and over and over. I was like, okay, I get it. Well, it was confusing because I couldn't tell how old the speaker is supposed to be. Yes. Because it talks about like traveling with a friend without parents, but the tone of it sounds like he's like 10 years old.
That's part of it, is I think this guy's weirdly immature. I think that was part of the joke. Actually, there's a few jokes in here. One is that his camera stopped working or something, or he didn't put film in it, so he had to draw all of his adventures, and they're all on slides. He's put them on slides as if they're photos. And he's like, look at this beautiful vista. And it's a terrible Ed Subitzky drawing of like 3 lines. You can't even tell what's going on. He's like, look at these beautiful cliffs. And it's like this terrible drawing of these cliffs. There's a running gag about how constantly he can only describe things that go up and down. He can only describe towers. And then whenever he sees something that goes up and down, like a redwood tree, he'll stop and have a paragraph describing this in this poetic language, how it's like stabbing the heavens or something like that. And everything else is in this ridiculous 10-year-old voice. And then he wants to go to Disneyland like a child, and his friend wants to go see a burlesque show, or he wants to go to see strippers in Las Vegas. And at the end, they end up in this podunk town where they go to see some burlesque show. I actually really love this.
Okay. Maybe I need to read it again.
I don't know. It is like long. Somehow he transitioned into writing text stories. They talk about this in their interview because none of the other cartoonists at Nat Lamp ended up writing prose pieces, but he's got 2 or 3 in here, and they're all kind of they're a bit like his comics. They're like one, as you said, 1 or 2 gags. Like there's one called Stupid World, where everybody's just really everything that happens is idiotic and it just makes no sense. It's very hard for me to describe in words how stupid everything is in Stupid World. Or there was another prose piece in here too. What was that one? An Evening in 1973. It's about the future. And the gag he keeps coming back to is everything is made of cellophane. People's dresses and like the microwave oven, and everything is like self-heating, and they're going to build the space shuttle out of cellophane. It's just like the same, but I don't know. I think it works through repetition the same way I think the comics worked as well. I mean, we haven't talked about, so there's the formalist comics, and the other boxes we can put them into. I think one is like, I would call sex-crazed comics, which is people obsessed with going out and picking up, usually middle-aged men or men in their 30s that want to go out and pick up women. And it's all about like these sexual neuroses. And the aliens on Antares is exactly the same, because those aliens, they have 12 genders. And in order to have sex, they need to have one of each. So they spend all night, but it's all just like 1970s club scene kind of stuff, where they're trying to convince people, and they're like, how can we find a gamma to join our beta and alpha group, or all this kind of stuff. And I would say there are a lot of these strips. It's very National Lampoon. Like, how can we? It's all about trying to score. And people being neurotic. And there's one called Growing Older Comics, where this guy goes out and he's like, oh, I need score tonight. And he's like, should I call that girl? No, she's too ugly. And he goes to a club, and he's like micro assessing like all her features, and she's doing the same to him. She's like, oh, he's bold, but I guess he's okay. And then there's dozens of strips like this, much like the detective strips. There are a lot of those, and I think they kind of cross over with the formalist ones a little bit. I would say one of the offshoots of the sex craze ones is what I would call sexual obscurity comics or sexual frustration comics, where he presents it as if you're going to see something sexy in an Ed Subitzky ugly drawing kind of way. You're going to see 2 people have sex, but then something happens to the comic strip itself, which prevents you from seeing it. For example, there's one called Off the Page Comics, where the last panel is cut off before you can see the 2 people having sex. Or Origami Comics, where they're about to have sex, but then the comic folds itself into a paper airplane and you don't get to see what happens. Or Mobius strip comics, where the comic folds itself into a strip and you don't get to see the dirtiest panels, or something like that. There's a few like that I thought they were funny, because he kept coming back to it. He kept finding new ways to, like, there's like In Jail comics, where he says this comic has been put in jail for being too obscene, and the comic is behind bars. So all the obscene things you don't actually get to see. And a variation on that is the ones where he has these, like, how do you describe it? There's one called like juxtaposition comics, where you have a word balloon. So you can look for dirty words in the comics, right? Where this girl says, the word balloon says, let's grab the bulls by the horns. And then the balloon next to it is the man saying, let's hit this nail on the head. But the bulls and the hit are next to each other, so it looks like the word bullshit, right? And there's every panel has these very juvenile kind of jokes where you're putting these 2 balloons together to form obscene words.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny how often he did. And there's another one where if you read it out loud, I think it's called Read Aloud Porno Comics, where if you read it aloud, you can see, like they're golfing, and the character will say, "Okay, I will see you," and tee off later. So if you read out loud, you get the CUNT. So there, every balloon, or every panel, there's one of these balloons that has some very juvenile word. If you read it out loud, it's like spelling boobs on your calculator in comics form. Is what it's like.
Yes.
It was. I don't know. I guess it's my sense of humor. I found all those really. I found it hilarious how persistent he was. About trying to.
And he didn't do them when he was in 7th grade either.
No. No. He's a grown-ass man finding these really weird kid-like jokes. They're trying to make these stupid, dirty jokes. I just thought it was so strange.
This podcast is part of the Deconstructing Comics Network, where we're grateful to our supporters on Patreon. Patrons get exclusive extra content. Pledge $2 a month or more and get Batman 66 podcast Bat Bits. We're currently looking at the draft script for A Riddle a Day Keeps the Riddler Away. At $4 a month, you also get our monthly show Silver Age Batman, where we're looking at many of the wacky Batman stories from the 50s. Also at the $4 level, you can still access our past series that covered the first 50 issues of Amazing Spider-Man, including episodes with guest spots by Swamp Thing artist Steve Bissette and New Yorker cartoonist Joe Dater. Follow our Patreon for free and get access to the first 2 episodes of both Bat Bits and Silver Age Batman. Check it out at patreon.com/deconcomics, and thanks for your support.
Hello, I'm Ken Holtzhauser, and if you're looking for something new in comic books, may I recommend my newest comic, The Quick and the Dad, a love letter to the DC, Marvel, Archie, and Harvey comics of my youth. This comic has everything. It has spaceships, dad jokes, alien invasions, time travel, supervillains, and so many bad puns. Hopefully you'll like it. It's the cutest comic you've never heard of, and it's available today in print and digital from indieplanet.com. That's The Quick and the Dad. Join that other dynamic duo, won't you?
But I want to get your take on this, and you were like, because you're like, I'm not finding it that funny, and then you were like, we were almost not going to do the episode, and I was like, I felt really bad because you can't download this thing; it's only in print.
Yeah.
Were there any bits that you liked in it?
Well,
or any strips in particular that you liked?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I got some laughs out of it. I think I kind of warmed up to it, or it got better as it went. And even like really late in the book, there were some like. He does a lot of comics where they're just like constant talking for 10, 20, 30 panels. And sometimes they're all like one-liners. And some of the one-liners cracked me up. Like in my notes, I put page 159. I haven't had sex in so long, I forgot what part of the body it uses. Which seems very unlikely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I had some trepidation at the beginning, but gradually I warmed up to it.
And did you start and stop? So when you first bought it, I was like, please buy this book so we can talk about it. And you bought it. And then you were like, I'm not sure. Did you stop reading and come back to it, or did you start again? Or
I mean, I chipped away at it slowly. I mean, I'd already been trying to get into a habit of reading a bit before I go to bed.
Okay.
Of something. I've worked through some Little Orphan Annie before. And so I was, not even every day, but when I thought of it, I would read a few pages before I went to bed. So I was just kind of slowly working through it. And yeah, we started this like 2 months ago or something. I don't remember how long it took us to.
Yeah, it was a long time.
But I finished it just like day before yesterday,
Right.
And Yeah, and so by the end, I was like, okay, well, I mean, some of the jokes are like, okay, we get it, you can stop now, but there were some really funny things in it, and it read quickly, I thought. Even the pages that have, like, tons of text still went by kind of quickly.
Yeah. It's interesting, he says that the National Lampoon in the interview says they never edited his work. They just like ran it as is. I think he says they made 0 changes.
It reads like it too, yeah.
Yeah. He actually says they did make one change, because he said when he wrote that summer story, My Summer Vacation, he points out that he crossed out one section that he didn't like. And the editor actually put it back in. The editor actually liked that part that he had crossed through. And
so they unedited it.
Yes, anti-editing is what Mark Newgarden calls it. Yeah. I think, was there not? Oh, the other category was neurotic comics. And I think they're mostly towards the end. They seem to be like, and they also seem to be for like, after his National Lampoon days. They seem to be done for some other magazine or something. I think American Bystander.
Yeah, but some of it's like, from there, yeah. And some is New York Times. And there's like Take a Walk with Mr. Anxiety, where it's just like 50 word balloons of this guy just having these neurotic thoughts. And also the people you pass on the street, what they're thinking. I love this one, because some of them are like, some of them are like really like people having real like anxiety, but then some of them are like that man's shoelace is untied. If I tell him, will he marry me? Or this guy further down says, was this the block where the store window said 50% off on turtles? That's like these are like real thoughts. Like, but yeah, that's the same page, the same cartoon that had I haven't had sex in so long line. Yes. The end of the first panel.
Yes. But then there's like real stuff like, I wonder how he'd like me to dump him, text a message, email, or physical note. These are like real, that thing about the turtles in the window, there's like real thoughts that I have in my head when I'm walking around down the street doing nothing. But there's a few pages, especially at the end, that are like this. There's this one, the next page is one called In the Skyscraper, which is just people's random thoughts in a skyscraper.
Yeah, it's just like tall, thin skyscraper with all these word balloons coming out of it. And in a couple of cases, they're speaking to each other, but a lot of them are just isolated thoughts. Yeah.
Yes. And then the next page is the entire internet on a page, which is very similar to being like, to all this kind of neurotic stuff. And he's really done a pretty good job of nailing down almost everything on the internet on one page.
Yeah, I mean, I was all in the 70s, 80s mindset, and like all of a sudden we're talking about the internet. Like, what?
Yes. Yes, there's definitely a real shift, because that, all the sex stuff really feels like carnal knowledge, like Jules Pfeiffer type stuff. And then suddenly you get to this stuff, and it really has a different feel to it.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff, you can tell it's like New York Times or something, because now all the sex stuff is gone.
That's right.
Why is this comic so clean?
Yes. Also, Subitzky's like a lot older at this stage, 20, 30 years, maybe even 40 years older when he's doing these, like the entire internet on one page.
Well, and this is internet, like when connection speeds were much slower.
Yes.
Like one, test your patience. The first letter of the encyclopedia has been downloaded successfully. Please do not turn your device off for the next 32 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see if I can find the year on that one. Yeah, it doesn't say the year, but it was in Bystander. Yes. Yeah, so that's another phase I would say is the anxiety phase, neuroses phase, I guess. I think that definitely like the formalist ones were my favorites, because that's what brought me in to buy the book in the first place. But there's some I do think some of the humor stuff is really great. Like there's the one where in the year 2050 everyone has become a lawyer and they all just talk in lawyer talk at each other, and some of that stuff is really it doesn't work in any other medium. Like you can't imagine stand-up comedy about it or anything, or even a cartoon. It really only works on a comics page, I think, and he's really cracked some of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and then some of these like one panel ones are just kind of absurdist.
Yes.
I'm looking at 158 where this kind of, maybe it's a dog, maybe says nice camouflage, and an invisible something says thanks.
Yeah, so weird. So weird. That's really one of the weirdest ones. Yeah, there are a few little sight gags like that are very brief. I just stumbled across another sex obscure one, which is like Join the Dots on page 88, is do-it-yourself comics where these two people are going to have sex. But it's all done in these Join the Dots, which are like a millimeter away from each other, so you know exactly what's going on. But then the final sex panel is just like a bunch of numbers. It's really...
Yeah, ooh, ah, and then, just some motion lines and a bunch of dots with numbers next to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Great.
And the earlier 5 panels are this really stripped down dialogue. Hi, intercourse? No, I love you. Yes.
Yes.
Ooh, ah.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Yeah.
And even the words in the balloons are dot to dot. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Although that H, I mean, if you went from 6 to 7, you'd have a diagonal line through the H, but whatever.
That's true. Yeah. No. Yeah. In fact, there's one like this that's cryptogram comics where all the letters are supposedly replaced, but it's nonsense. And there's one that's crossword comics where all the words on the word balloons are crossword clues, but the clues don't match. Like this is like if you try to do these, you will go insane. Like it's a real. He's playing a prank on you, and I fell for it. I looked at that crossword one. I was like, oh, what could this one be? And no, it's just nonsense. And that cryptogram one too. I kind of looked at it. I was like trying to solve the puzzle of the random letters. No, he's just throwing random letters at you, and to prank you as a reader. Yeah, that stuff was all really great too. As I'm talking about this more, I'm enjoying it even more.
Yeah.
Useful comics. This is like a it's got a cutout lines around it. So you're supposed to cut it out and carry it with you. And it's this guy picking up a girl, and it's like a conversation to have. Like it's just is like for men only, how to fill in the appropriate information in blanks below, then cut on dotted line and hand to any attractive girl who happens to catch your eye. The only blank line is what your name is. Hello, my name is. And then the rest of it is just this conversation he has with this girl as you're supposed to hand it over. It's just so weird and strange and creative and yeah. But I guess my advice would be reverse censorship comics. This is a great one. It's another one where these people it's on page 46 where everything is blacked out except for the swear words and genitals. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I would say that if people buy this and they're having a hard time with it, read one page a day or something.
Yeah.
Just set it aside on your nightstand and just read it once a week, or I don't know, just read a bit at a time if you're finding it repetitive. It definitely is repetitive, but I found that was a joke. I loved how persistent he was about this really dumb stuff half the time. But it was just so, especially the formal stuff, was just so creative in interesting ways. I've never seen anybody try to do 8-way comics like that before, or 8 comics in one, or just never seen it done. Oh, my favorite one is the one on page 50 which when I was first reading the book like 3 months ago, took a picture and put it on the Facebook group because I thought it was so incredible. It's called Moving On Comics. We have to read this. I want to read it into the podcast, but I think this one strip on page 150 is worth the ticket price. You got two characters talking, and it's 6 panels. And one character says, "Boy, I can't stand this part of the strip over to the left. It's so un-American." And then one panel over, so moving one panel to the right. The character says, "Yeah, I actually feel some compassion for my fellow human beings." And the other character says, "I have this strange urge to help out a poor person." Next panel over. Now this panel here is more like it. "Yeah, I'm starting to wonder why pregnant teenagers don't take more factory jobs." And we move a little bit more over to the right. And it says, "We're finally right of center, thank goodness. Did I really say I wanted to help that pathetic old bum? I should have pushed his face in." Then second to last panel, second from the right. "Look, we're almost at the right margin. I think we should elect General Motors president. I suddenly realize I'm the only person in the country who deserves medical care." And then finally, "We made it. What a rush. All this hate feels better than a triple espresso. Look, I just destroyed the environment because God told me to." Boy, this one was incredible. 1997, this one was just absolutely amazing.
It
just
tracks.
says it all. Yes. Yes, literally. Literally tracks across the page from left to right. Really amazing. Yeah, so I guess what I say is, I love these comics. I love reading them a second time because I kind of forgotten how obsessed they were the first time, but read bits and pieces of it if that's the best way for you to digest it. But also maybe it does, like, it is really specifically National Lampoon, like especially all the sex comics were like for the young men that were reading that target audience. I think it was really specifically speaking to them. I think that's why the editors liked his work and hired him and never edited him, because they were on the same wavelength, maybe. Yeah, so maybe bear that in mind too if you're thinking about buying it.
Right. But yeah, then, like I said, when you get into the stuff for other publications later, then it's a completely different vibe.
Yes, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah, New Yorker, New York Times, American Bystander, and a few other miscellaneous venues, but Tricycle? I'd never heard of Tricycle.
Yeah, one weird, like, consciousness, like, what was it? Was like a conference on human consciousness. There are two very weird pages that are like jokes about human consciousness and the brain that were weird. Like, I don't know if you could, maybe more weird than anything else in the book.
The consciousness puzzle page.
Yeah. From the Journal of Studies.
That was puzzling.
Yes. Yeah. So there's some like weird outlets, but apparently he says at the end in the interview that he doesn't cartoon much anymore.
Okay, so the consciousness puzzle pages were from the Journal of Consciousness Studies. That's actual publication. So it fit the readership. It was
absolutely
just as targeted as the Lampoon stuff was.
And he apparently had an interest in science. He talks about in the interview that he was interested in science subjects. So maybe he like submitted to the these weird cartoons to the Journal of Consciousness Studies. Very strange. Didn't know they published cartoons.
No,
whatever this journal was. To think that's a place. Also, by the way, the back cover has been comicified, where the blurbs are done as Ed Subitzky cartoons, and even the ISBN says ISBN Comics on it.
That confused me at first. Like, huh? Yeah, so the ISBN code is in a panel, a very poorly drawn box, and with the title ISBN Comics above it, and then to the right it says The End.
Yes. That's the end of the ISBN comic. Yes.
Right.
Yeah. That's really great. Yeah. But so yeah, apparently he says he doesn't cartoon much anymore, unfortunately. But we have this really great collection of maybe everything he's ever did for the National Lampoon and for consciousness journal studies, all in one place. So it's pretty unique, weird collection that I really stumbled across by accident. I don't know if anybody else in the universe has read it.
Yeah, how did you find this book?
Well, like I said, there was some podcast that said we're reviewing
right.
Ed Subitzky comics.
Yeah,
and I was like, who's Ed Subitzky? I didn't listen to podcasts, and I Googled it, and it was like,
right.
I think there was a comics journal review, and it had some pages in it, and maybe that was like, because I gravitate towards formalist stuff. I mean, it's part of why I love the Alan Moore comics so much. So, I mean, immediately I was like, I have to get this.
We should mention, too, I can't figure out what page it was on now, but it mentions that Subitzky was involved in David Letterman's morning show at the very beginning of the 80s, where he would, I guess Dave would bring on such and such famous person for an interview, but it was actually him.
Right. And there's a page with photos of him on the show. One, he's like James Clavell, author of Shogun. Let me see if I can find this page. But yeah, okay. I think this segment was called The Imposter or something.
Page 95.
Okay.
Yeah, where he's Burt Reynolds, he's James Clavell, he's Don Henley of the Eagles. He's wearing a leather jacket.
Right.
He's Santa.
Yeah. He has a weird... And by the way, also another thing that's revealed in the book is that his background is actually... Or his day job was in advertising. Apparently he was really good at it, at writing he
mailings. Admits to his shame that he was good at advertising.
Yes. But he has this interesting look. He's bald with glasses. But he had a kind of modeling, I don't want to say career, but he had some modeling jobs. He had this bit for Letterman, and then he appeared in some advertisements.
Yeah, it was
for video games and stuff.
Video games, and there were a Lampoon cover, I think.
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Here it is, page 17. He's on the cover of a Lampoon.
Right. Because he had a very specific average Joe look, I guess, that worked for certain kinds of advertising and for that segment on Letterman where he could be a really obvious imposter of Burt Reynolds.
Yeah. Wait a minute, that's not Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
This is a prank.
Yeah.
So, some of it's weird. Some of it was a little eye-rolly, but some of it I enjoyed. It was interesting to find out about this guy I'd never heard of before.
Yeah. Yeah, that, too. That was an interesting aspect of it for me, too, was just there's this whole corner of the world. I think New York Review Comics also put out some other National Lampoon cartoonists as well, which I can't remember right now, but I think they're kind of looking for people who've been kind of ignored and have disappeared in the margins, almost literally in Subitzky's case.
Maybe I'll submit Spider Hag.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if I finished it first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe there are some cartoons that I did for the Base magazine that would be a lot shorter and take up a lot less space. But anyway, right. You might pick up this book if you got some time to kill. It's almost 200 pages. Mostly these strange comics, several text pieces in the interview, and some photos. So, but I thought it was kind of a quick read for all that.
Good.
Even though it took me a long time to get through it, just because I don't have any time to read.
Right.
Poor Helpless Comics, the cartoons and more of Ed Subitzky is published by New York Review Comics. Follow us on Blue Sky at Decon Comics. Join our Facebook page or the more active group. Listen to our audio-only videos on YouTube. All of those are linked from deconstructingcomics.com. You can communicate with us via any of those sites or drop us a line at mail@deconstructingcomics.com or talk to us. Click the Leave a Voicemail link on the left sidebar of our site. Are you making a comic? Send it to us and we'll do a Critiquing Comics episode about it. Our theme is by J.B. Anderton. The music backing the promotion of our Patreon is Change by Jazar. Next week, Critiquing Comics, including a well-written thriller and the second issue of a well-drawn philosophical comic. Adam and Jason join me as usual to critique the books. Till then, this is Tim, and thanks for listening to Deconstructing Comics.